اگر وہ کرتا ہے یا اس کے بارے میں بات کرتا ہے, all of a sudden you are going to be subservient to his whatever solution is going to give, right or wrong, but at least he's discussing it. People have. Mars پہ جانا کیوں ضروری ہے? That's a bigger question to ask. All of a sudden you become a little more credible. اللہ چھوٹی لڑائی ہے. باقی مارس پہ جانا تو ایک اگلا اسٹیپ ہے نا اس کا. کسی وجہ سے چاند پہ جانا, حالانکہ چاند پہ جا کے کیا کر لینا ہم نے, پلاٹ لے لینا یا پھر انرجی کی سورس آ جائے گی یا پھر absolutely nothing on the apparently, but innately, intrinsically یہ اتنی بڑی اچیومنٹ ہے کہ اس کے بعد آپ نے لوگوں کو جو آپ نے جو بولنا ہے لوگوں نے وہ ماننا ہے, چاہے وہ میڈیکل سائنس میں بولیں چاہے وہ کسی اور سائنس میں بولیں. اب سائنس کی فتح آپ نے کر لی بیکاز ہماری نیچرل ہیومن نیڈ کے اندر آسمانوں کو دیکھ کے ادھر کی جست ہے.
ایکچولی اٹس فنی کہ آپ نے یہ آسمان کو دیکھنے والی بات کی, بیکاز میں اس دن بھی کسی سے ڈسکس کر رہا تھا کہ اگر ہم سائنس کی تاریخ لیں تو اٹ از ابنڈنٹلی کلیئر کہ میجورٹی جو سائنٹیفک ایڈوانسمنٹس ہوئی ہیں ان کی سورس لٹرلی یہ ہے کہ انسانوں نے آسمان کو دیکھا, انہوں نے سیاروں کو دیکھا, انہوں نے ستاروں کو دیکھا, اور اس کی بیسس پہ لائک آئنسٹائن کی تھیوری آف ریلیٹیوٹی جس کی بنیاد پہ میرا فون آج چل رہا ہے وہ ٹوٹلی فرام دی آبزرویشن آف ہیونلی باڈیز ہے.
یہی تو کہہ رہا ہوں, اللہ تعالیٰ نے قرآن میں کہا اوپر دیکھ, اوپر تجھے کیا سمجھ کیوں نہیں آ رہی, تجھے اوپر کیوں دکھا رہا ہوں میں.
اینڈ ٹریجک بات ایک یہ بھی ہے کہ جو شہروں کا لائٹ پولوشن ہے اس کی وجہ سے اب ہمیں نظر بھی نہیں آتی اس طرح.
I know places in Pakistan, کسی دن میں کسی لسٹ میں پیش کر دوں گا, جہاں پہ آپ کو 3 ڈائمینشنل آسمان نظر آئے گا, درخت ہے اور درخت کے پتے اور درخت کے پھل الگ سے نظر آئیں گے. پاکستان میں ہیں جگہ وہ, and I've been to different parts of the world, so I've seen that. It's so unfortunate کہ ہمارے بچے وہ آسمان دیکھ نہیں سکتے جہاں پہ ایک ستارہ دوسرے ستارے کے بیچ میں آپ ریلیٹیو ڈسٹینس بھی دیتے ہیں, یہ کون سا ہے اور دور کون سا ہے. It's such a beautiful. تب جب تک میں نے نہیں دیکھا نا تب تک مجھے بھی نہیں پتا تھا کہ بھائی ایجپشنس کو کریز کیا تھا, مائنز کو کریز کیا تھا. اتنا چھوٹا واقعہ نہیں ہے اصلی آسمان دیکھنا. ہمیں تو ڈیم سا ایک ملکی وے کا ایک نظر آ رہا تھا.
نہیں, وہ بڑا بریتھ ٹیکنگ ویو ہوتا ہے, وہ آپ کو کمپلیٹلی آپ کا مائنڈ چینج کر دیتا ہے اباؤٹ ویئر یو آر.
میں ایک چھوٹی سی ایگزامپل اور دے دوں جسٹ فار دی کیوریس مائنڈس 24 گھنٹے میں غائب ہوئے ہیں پلانٹ ارتھ سے. میری وہ اوپینین ہے, 24 گھنٹے میں پوری سیولائزیشن ایسے کرے غائب ہو گئی. اور اس کی کہاں کیا ملا, اس کا اسپیس شپ کے میپس ملے ان اس پہ پورا کا پورا اسپیس کرافٹ, اور وہ بھی اسی ڈائریکشن میں اینڈ لٹرلی ہینگرس کے ساتھ ٹائم ناٹس کے ساتھ جو کہ اس وقت کی وہ بنتی بات. I'm not saying stop the show, everything else stops. No. There are many other things that are bigger than this happen on this very planet. More than 580 pyramids, جس جو گیزا پیرامڈ سے 10 گنا بڑے ہیں, ٹھیک ہے. ان تمام کی لوکیشنز چھوٹے, باقی کے پیرامڈس تو ڈھونڈنے پڑتے ہیں کیونکہ وہ آپ انڈر دا وہ آ گئے نا whatever the dirt that we already have. جیسے چائنا کے سب سے زیادہ پیرامڈ چائنا میں, جو itself the use of pyramid ہے وہ تھیورائز نہیں ہے خالی. اوکے, میں بتاتا ہوں کیوں. میں انڈونیشیا میں نا, مجھے خاص گروپ نے مجھے بلایا, وہ تو کریکولم بنا رہے تھے میرا کہ میتھمیٹکس 60 کانسیپٹس کے اوپر ہم نے کانسٹلیشن بنا دی ہے. بچہ 0 سے اسٹارٹ ہوگا, پیش نہیں کرے گا, 4 سال ہیں اس کو بس, لیکن ہمیں ایکسپیڈائٹ کرنا پڑے گا ورنہ 4 سال سے لگیں گے. تو یہ اے آئی کمپیوٹر پروگرامنگ کے تھرو, لینگویج کے تھرو کرا, کیونکہ ہم نے ویژولائز کروانا ہے میتھمیٹکس. And I'm like, okay, that's good. بس 2D کے اوپر تو میتھس ہمیں, اس لیے تو میتھس نہیں کرتے ہیں ہم. ہمیں 2D میتھس سکھائی گئی تھی, ہمیں 3D میپ چاہیے. میتھمیٹکس کی کوشچن ہمیں ریالٹی دکھانی چاہیے کہ کوشچن کی یوٹیلیٹی کیا ہے. اور میتھمیٹکس میں تو چلو جیسے بھی, فزکس میں تو پیور یوٹیلیٹی آف میتھمیٹکس چاہیے نا, ورنہ تو فزکس نظر ہی نہیں آئے گی ہمیں. ڈسکشن اسٹارٹڈ اینڈ آل آف اے سڈن وی ٹاکنگ اباؤٹ کہ ٹیسلا نے جی, اب these people know Tesla way more because of his work rather than the news they're reading. And the way these people have actually structured themselves around Tesla and their work is, اصل میں وہ کام کر رہے ہیں نا, اس لیے اتنے امپورٹنٹ لوگ بھی ہیں. And I'm thinking کہ سر ٹیسلا کے تو میں نے صرف اور صرف اس کے کوٹس پڑھے, نہیں کوٹس کے علاوہ میں نے کچھ پڑھا, مگر اس کی وہ والی چیز پڑھی ہے کہ جو اس کو کوک بناتی ہے. He's a conspiracy theorist at best, جو کہ اس کو present اس طرح کیا گیا. And I said, yeah, that's exactly the job. جب ایک بندہ اس لیول کے اوپر کام کرے گا کہ جس کے پروف آ بھی چکے ہوں گے مگر اس کو اگر آپ نے ریوٹیبل کرنا ہوگا ان دا مائنڈ آف ریگولر پیپل جا کے آپ کے سامنے پولیٹیکل موومنٹ نہ اسٹارٹ ہو جائے کیونکہ اٹس آل اباؤٹ پالیٹکس.
free energy کا جو idea ہے
Just the free energy. I don't want to use this word.
مثلاً
Like for example, death ray بن رہی ہے. Free energy تو چلو یوز ہے نا, free energy use ہے. I'm talking about the concept on which he's working. You know where he's getting it from? He's getting it from the pyramids. Literally, he's writing about this. It's not a theory. It's what Tesla is saying کہ بھائی یہ ایسے نہیں تکے لگ گئے ان کے. اورائن بیلٹ کو فیس کرتا ہوا کون سا علم ہے کہ جو آپ دنیا میں پیرامڈز بنائیں اور اس کی اس لیول پہ ڈیڈ آن ایکوریسی ہو کہ وہ واقعی ٹرو نارتھ کو ریپرزینٹ کرتا ہو, اور نہ صرف ٹرو نارتھ آن دا پلانٹ بلکہ ان کی تمام تر پلیسمنٹ ایسٹرونومیکلی کریکٹ ہونی ضروری ہے. You know, the equinox of the summer versus the equinox of the winter, سب کچھ 100% آپ کو پتہ ہے لیوز کانسٹلیشن سفنکس کے اوپر پن پوائنٹ ایکوریسی کے ساتھ بیٹھتا ہے صرف سال میں ایک دن, جس دن اس کو مکمل نہیں کر سکتے آپ. اب تم نے فرعون کا منہ لگا دیا بات کو, لیکن ابھی نہ کہیں جانا. میں آپ کو یہاں پہ ایک پوائنٹ بتانا چاہ رہا ہوں. I'm not trying to get, I'm talking about the curious mind here کہ انسان شروع سے آج یہ پروو ہو گئی. میں پوائنٹ بتا دوں, اپنے انٹرپٹ کر دیں. پوائنٹ یہ تھا ورنہ لوگ کہیں گے یہ کیا باتیں کر رہا تھا. پیرامڈس اصل میں اسپیس سائنس کا پروجیکٹ ہے. اوکے, جس نے بھی کیا تھا یہ پروون ہے, اس بارے میں کنسپیریسی نہیں ہو سکتی. اوکے, یو نو واحد نواز جتنا مرضی, واحد نواز یو نو دا ایجپشین جس کے انڈر اس وقت وہ جو مرضی دیٹ گائے شوڈ بی بیریڈ ان دا پیرامڈس فار آل آئی کیئر.
گرہم ہینکاک کر دے گا
کر دے گا,
بہت کام
جو کرنا تھا کر چکا ہے. گرہم ہینکاک نے اپنی پروفائل خود تباہ کی نا, ٹو مچ آئی واس کر کے ڈو اٹ.
That's true. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, understand.
This is by the way, this is where Aki baatein shine through, and I have to interrupt you because someone has to make the case for you. Thoda sa aap left right bounce around karte hain. This is coming from me. ठीक है, the most distracted person on earth.
I'm trying to make a point here, but चलने बोले
نہیں یہ بڑا ضروری ہے ایکچولی بات.
آپ کو گراؤنڈ کرنا ہے آئیڈیا. آپ نے کہا کہ گرہم ہینکاک میں آڈینس کی بینیفٹ کی بتاتا ہوں. گرہم ہینکاک کی 2 کتابیں ہیں, میجیشنز آف دا گاڈز اور آرکیٹیکٹس آف دا گاڈز یا سمتھنگ لائک دیٹ. اس نے جو اینشنٹ ایلین تھیریز کو کہتے ہیں یا جو آئیڈیا ہے کہ ایک آلٹرنیٹیو ریڈنگ ہوتی ہے کوٹ اینڈ کوٹ پیرامڈس کی اور جو فزیکل انرجیز کی, اور اس طرح کی جو مسائل مختلف عام طور پہ آر سویپٹ انڈر دا رگ بائی کنونشنل سارٹ آف مور یو نو ایکیڈیمکس یا آپ کے جو مین اسٹریم تھنکرز جو ہیں, بیکاز فار وٹ ایور ریزن یا آبفسکیشن یا ایک ریلیجیس ایک مذہبی پناہ تو آپ کی سائنس کے اندر بھی آ چکا ہوا ہے کہ دے آر ناٹ ایبل ٹو تھنک ان ایبسٹریکٹ سارٹ آف ویز, اور ان کی آرتھوڈاکسی ڈیولپ ہو گئی ہے. گرہم ہینکاک جیسے لوگ they're talking sense and then marbles come out of their mouth and they sound like kooks, right, and grifters. But آپ نہ کچھ بیچتے ہیں ماشاءاللہ, نہ آپ کوئی مال کمانے کے چکر میں, you are on a loftier goal because these new atheist type religion weirdos like new religion, yoga کر لو, ayahuasca پی لو, you know trips کر لو, آپ کو اپنی بات کو گراؤنڈ کرنا پڑے گا because you have a loftier message. اور میرے جیسے ڈفر کو بھی آپ کو سمجھانا پڑے گا کہ یار اس کا کیا مطلب ہے جب میں پیرامڈس کو اتنے ایبسٹریکٹ لکھنا. ایک عام بندہ پیرامڈس کو ایسے نہیں, عام بندے کی بحث یہاں تک ہی رہے گی کہ یار پیرامڈس کو کس نے بنایا, زیادہ زیادہ وہ سوال پوچھ لے گا, بٹ کیوں بنایا, یو ہیو ٹو گراؤنڈ اٹ ان ریئلٹی فار اس. کس نے بنایا تو بحث نہیں,
کیوں بنایا کس نے بنایا تو میرا اپنا گیس ہے.
بٹ ہم آپ کو ایک سارٹ آف پیس آف ایڈوائس آلموسٹ دے رہے ہیں کہ دیکھیں آن ون آپ 2 آڈینسز لوز کر رہے ہیں. آن ون اینڈ اٹس دا پیپل جن کو کچھ نہیں پتا جو کہیں گے اچھا اس کا کیا مطلب ہے, اینڈ دین دی مور انٹلیکچوئل پیپل بیکاز یہ آلریڈی جس پہ باتیں ہیں جو آپ کر رہے ہیں تو ان کے یہ شارلٹنز والی باتیں ہیں یا یہ سیوڈو سائنس کے اندر کی ریلم کے اندر چیز آ جاتی ہے.
See the price.
This is the way the format is set up. آپ ایک nugget پھینکتے ہیں and then you know.
That's why you know when I was talking about the 100-year plan, اس میں مجھے پڑھا تھا کہ you know what, this is one of the psychological resistance I'm going to get. Okay, yeah. So who am I actually trying to rescue here? That should be the real question. Left, right, and center, literally the center, are going to walk out in the middle of so much that you want to try and do. So who's going to be left in the room? The only person who's going to be left in the room is that curious person who has a little bit of sense developed. कि भाई एक मिनट रुक जाओ. Even if I cannot connect it, nothing is said, nothing that he has said is against the basic truths that I know of whatever the universe has to offer to me. It's not like you're looking मैंने कहा क्योंकि मैंने कह दिया है या फिर यहाँ से आपको इतनी याद आए हैं कि नहीं मैंने ऐसा what I'm saying. What I'm saying is पढ़ें आपको टेस्ला पिरामिड्स के अंदर मिलेगा. पढ़ें तो आपको पिरामिड स्पेस साइंसेस के अंदर मिलेगी. पढ़ाई करें तो आपको स्पेस साइंसेस हायरार्किकल डिस्पोजिशन के अंदर मिलेगी. और अगर आप और पढ़ेंगे तो हायरार्किकल डिस्पोजिशन आपको बेसिक लीडरशिप और साइकोलॉजी के अंदर मिल जाएगी. देखें आदम इस्लाम के पहले बेटे से आज तक हम सिर्फ उसी बंदे को मिमिक फॉलो करते आए हैं जो कि आसमानों के सफर करके बता चुका हमें. अगर वो करता है या उसके बारे में बात करता है all of a sudden you are going to be subservient to his whatever solution is going to give, right or wrong, but at least he's discussing it. People have मार्स पे जाना क्यों जरूरी है? That's a bigger question to ask. All of a sudden you become a little more credible, a lot more credible. All of a sudden आपकी वर्थ बढ़ना शुरू हो गई है क्योंकि आप मार्स पे पहुंच गए या मार्स के ऊपर कोई मिशन बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जो कि हर साइकोलॉजिस्ट को पता है कि भाई सबसे बड़ा मार्का इस वक्त जो सबसे बड़ी लड़ाई है वो असल में चांद पे जाने की लड़ाई थी. बाकी मार्स पे जाना तो एक अगला स्टेप है ना उसका. किसी वजह से चांद पे जाना, हालांकि चांद पे जाके क्या कर लेना हमने, कोई प्लॉट ले लेना या कोई एनर्जी की सोर्स आ जाएगी या फिर आपको नो एब्सोल्युटली नथिंग ऑन द अपैरेंटली बट इनेटली इंट्रिंसिकली ये इतनी बड़ी अचीवमेंट है कि इसके बाद आपने लोगों को आपने जो बोलना है लोगों ने वो मानना है, चाहे वो आप मेडिकल साइंस ने बोलें चाहे वो किसी और ने बोलें. आप साइंस की फतह आपने कर ली बिकॉज हमारी नेचुरल ह्यूमन नीड के अंदर आसमानों को देख के उधर की जस्त है.
एक्चुअली इट्स फनी कि आपने ये आसमान को देखने वाली बात की बिकॉज मैं उसमें किसी से डिस्कस कर रहा था कि अगर हम साइंस की तारीख लें तो इट इज़
This is by the way, this is where आपकी बातें shine through. I have to interrupt you because someone has to make the case for you. थोड़ा सा left right bounce around करते हैं. This is coming from me. ठीक है, the most distracted person on earth.
trying to make a point here बगैर चलने बोले
नहीं ये बड़ा ज़रूरी है एक्चुअली.
आपको ग्राउंड करना है साइटिकल एनर्जीज की और इस तरह के जो मसाइल मुख्तलिफ आमतौर पे आर स्वेप्ट अंडर द रग बाय कन्वेंशन. मैं इनको जैसे लोग they're talking sense and then marbles come out of their mouth and they sound like kooks, right, and grifters. But आप ना कुछ बेचते हैं माशाल्लाह, ना आप कोई माल कमाने के चक्कर में you are on a loftier goal because these new atheist type religion weirdos like new religion योगा कर लो, ayahuasca पी लो, ट्रिप्स कर लो. आपको अपनी बात को ग्राउंड करना पड़ेगा because you have a loftier message. और मेरे जैसे डफर को भी आपको समझाना पड़ेगा कि यार इसका क्या मतलब है. जब मैं पिरामिड्स को इतने एब्स्ट्रैक्ट लिखा ना, एक आम बंदा पिरामिड्स को ऐसे नहीं, आम बंदे की बहस यहाँ तक ही रहेगी कि यार पिरामिड्स को किसने बनाया, ज्यादा ये वो सवाल पूछ लेगा. बट क्यों बनाया, यू हैव टू ग्राउंड इन रियलिटी फॉर अस. किसने बनाया तो बहस ही
क्यों बनाया बता रहा हूँ. तो मेरा अपना गैस है
नहीं, बट हम आपको एक सॉर्ट ऑफ पीस ऑफ एडवाइस ऑलमोस्ट दे रहे हैं कि देखें ऑन वन आप दो ऑडियंसेस ना लूज कर रहे हैं. ऑन वन एंड इट्स द पीपल जिनको कुछ नहीं पता जो कहेंगे अच्छा इसका क्या मतलब
क्यों गल्ला है ये छोड़ो.
एंड देन दी मोर इंटेलेक्चुअल पीपल बिकॉज ये ऑलरेडी बहुत फ्रिंजेस पे बातें हैं जो आप कर रहे हैं तो उनके लिए एलियनेटिंग होता है कि अच्छा ये शार्लेटन्स वाली बातें हैं या ये स्यूडो साइंस के अंदर की रेलम के अंदर चीज़ आ जाती है.
No, yeah, I know the risks. Listen, most of what I do, I'm not going to claim that everything I do is by design, but most of what I do is design. This is a price of that I've already factored in my budget. Yeah, this this is a price.
This is the way the format is set up. आप एक nugget फेंकते हैं and then you know.
That's why, when I was talking about the 100-year plan, उसमें मुझे पता था कि what, this is one of the psychological resistance I'm going to get. Okay, yeah. So who am I actually trying to rescue? That should be the real question. Left, right, and center, literally the center, are going to walk out in the middle of so much that you want to try and do. So who's going to be left in the room? The only person who's going to be left in the room is that curious person who has a little bit of sense developed. कि भैया एक मिनट रुक जाओ. Even if I cannot connect it, nothing is said, nothing that he has said is against the basic truth that I know of whatever the universe has to offer to me. It's not like
you're looking
मैंने
for
कहा
someone
क्योंकि मैंने कह दिया है या फिर यहाँ से आपको हज़रत इदरीस याद आए हैं कि नहीं मैंने that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is पढ़ें आपको टेस्ला पिरामिड्स के अंदर मिलेगा. पढ़ें तो आपको पिरामिड स्पेस साइंसेस के अंदर मिलेगी. पढ़ाई करें तो आपको स्पेस साइंसेस हायरार्किकल डिस्पोजिशन के अंदर मिलेगी. और अगर आप और पढ़ेंगे तो हायरार्किकल डिस्पोजिशन आपको बेसिक लीडरशिप और साइकोलॉजी के अंदर मिल जाएगी.
की तरफ चले. मैं इसका ब्रीफ बैकग्राउंड आपको बता दूं ताकि इसमें जो गुफ्तगू हुई है इस क्लिप में उसका सियाको सबाक पहुंच जाए. हुआ ये कि पाकिस्तान के एक वल्गर कमेडियन ने एक वीडियो बनाया साहिल अदीम साहब के हवाले से जिसमें टोटल झूठ जो वो एक इंसान जितना गराजत की दिखा सकता था वो इंसान आया. एक खातून के बारे में कह दिया कि साहिल अदीम की वाइफ है, हालांकि कोई ना उनका आपस में कोई ताल्लुक है ना कोई क्या इंसान को कहे. खैर एनीवे, और दूसरा ये कि वो कंपनी रजिस्टर करा दी है. वो अब मैं इस मामले से मैं वाकिफ हूँ. ना ही वो कंपनी साहिल अदीम साहब ने रजिस्टर कराई थी बल्कि इनके ऑनर में कंपनी रजिस्टर कराई गई थी जो बाद में उन्होंने अपनी रिक्वेस्ट पे जाके चेंज की. लेकिन हमारे उस वल्गर कमेडियन ने ये किया कि उसने ये सारी कहानी आउट ऑफ सर्टेन डॉक्यूमेंट्स इकट्ठे करके खुद ही बना दी. चले इन लोगों से तो यही तो है, इतनी कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. फिर ये हुआ कि जो मुस्लिम टुडे वाले हमारे भाई हैं उन्होंने वगैरह वगैरह इस तरह की हरकतें. तो जो अब गुफ्तगू होने वाली है इस क्लिप में जो आप देखने लगे हैं इसका सियाको सबाक ये है. एक rather disturbing thing, but I think we have to talk about it. I know for sure, or you know because you were the target of it. एक कंट्रोवर्सी अभी क्रिएट करने की कोशिश की गई that you were in the UK और उसके बाद फिर वो digging into this company there and all that, and I know that all of that is rubbish.
Yeah, you and I did actually a session with that company, yeah. So ironic they were here.
Yeah, I mean, और मुझे इस चीज़ पे 2-3 चीज़ों में मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा अफसोस इसका हुआ कि when you just for the sake of being cool आप कोई ऐसी बातें कह देते हैं कि you don't even आपने रिश्ते क्रिएट करने शुरू कर दिए. मियां बीवी के, I mean, आपकी अपनी मदर हो सकती है, आपकी सिस्टर हो सकती है, आपकी वाइफ. हाउ वुड यू फील इफ somebody says कि वो किसी की और की वाइफ है, and then all that just because you just wanted to do this because you hold grudges or what. खैर ऐसे लोगों को तो एंटरटेन भी नहीं करना चाहिए.
जी, मैं तो सिर्फ इसलिए मैंने ना.
But do you believe कि ये किसी ऐसे आदमी की सोलो एफर्ट हो सकती है? I mean, which idiot would have time कि वो किसी और के बारे में इंटरनेट पे सर्च कर रहा हो कि
a lot of idiots would have a lot of time.
A lot of them are
but this is not a solo. ये चल रही है solo effort नहीं. इसमें तो मैं probability क्वेश्चन रन कर रहा हूँ. मैं तो नहीं किसी को किसी नाम किसी की भी नहीं ले रहा तो मत ना लगे. But this is not a solo effort.
ना clearly not. क्योंकि उसके बाद फिर जिस तरह से उसको कोऑर्डिनेटेड तरीके से सोशल मीडिया पे इनके अपने कैंप ने फैलाया है, it was very clear कि it was well thought out. सारे सेगमेंट्स इकट्ठे हो गए, देखो यार ये क्या कर रहे हैं, वो क्या कर रहे हैं, ऐसा करो वैसा करो.
सेकुलर के तो लफ्ज बोलना भी सेकुलर seriously good.
Yeah, that's good said.
It's just देखें कुत्ता इंसान को काटे कोई बात नहीं, इंसान कुत्ते को काट ले वो बड़ा मसला है, ठीक है। तो let's not go into ये खबर क्या है, मुहावरा है ना, ये जोक है ना, ये खबर ये नहीं है कि कुत्ते ने इंसान को काटा है, खबर ये कि इंसान ने कुत्ते को काट लिया। So it's let's not go into that detail. मुझे सिर्फ अली भाई के ऊपर ज़रा तफसील में जाए बगैर, मुझे दीनदारों के ऊपर, I actually hold him in a very sacred position. हर वो बंदा जो अल्लाह रसूल की बात कर रहा है is sacred for me. जब आप अल्लाह रसूल की बात करते हैं तो आप मेरे रसूल के ऊपर होते हैं, आप तोहमत का हिस्सा नहीं बन सकते। बस इसके अलावा और कोई मुझे किसी भी किस्म की शिकायत नहीं है। किसी भी मसले पे मेरे खिलाफ वीडियो बनती है, आपको तो आप आदत हो चुकी होगी। जब आपको आदत हो जाती है ना, तो यू डोंट गेट डिसमिसिव अबाउट एवरी सिंगल थिंग। सो ये जब अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के साथ ना पीछे एक वो इन्होंने लड़के छोड़े हुए थे ना जो ढोल ताशा करते होते थे, तो क्या अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम क्या लोगों को ये तो नहीं कहते रहते कि ये वो है इसकी बात ना, इट इज नॉट समथिंग व्हिच इज इन योर ग्रेस। सो आई एम रिस्पेक्टिंग Ali bhai, I'm respecting him enough to say कि you should not have done that. You should not have done that. Now I know कि आखिरत में मेरा फायदा ही फायदा हुआ है, मगर इतना झूठ कि मतलब मैं तो कुछ ऐसी बातें भी मैं क्योंकि पूरी वीडियो अल्लाह की कसम में देख नहीं सका, थोड़ी बिट्स में बताई जाती है। मतलब मैं जिन इलाकों में कभी जिंदगी में गया भी नहीं हूँ, जैसे लास वेगस, उसके ऊपर भी मेरे उधर की टेन्योर के ऊपर भी वो मामलात मेरे तय हुए हैं पहले से। जिस लड़की को मैं प्रोफेशनली आपके साथ मैंने पॉडकास्ट की हुई है और एक सेशन किया उसके साथ मेरी शादी हो गई भी है, ब्रिटिश नेशनैलिटी मुझे मिली हुई है या फिर उसको मिली हुई है, ठीक है। आई मीन आपको थोड़ी सी सेंस होती है कि एक बंदे को वैसे आप पूछ सकते हैं कि आप इतने सेशन करते हैं, आम बंदा भी उठ के पूछ सकता है कि यार ये सेशन वजह से मैं पैसे लिया हूँ। आई मीन इट डज नॉट टेक अ जर्नलिस्टिक्स rocket science to go into that. So if you have that sort of a network, और ज़्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स आपके इंजीनियर साहब की हमारे एक ही तरह के एक ही सर्कल में होते हैं, everybody knows everything। पर मेरे कोई ऑर्गेनाइजर्स कोई फ्री मेसन्स तो है नहीं, चार जगह पे खुले आम फिर रहे होते हैं और इतनी एडवर्टाइजमेंट करते हैं, अपने नंबर तक दिए होते हैं, लिटरली हर ब्रोशर जिस फोन नंबर होता है, मेक अ कॉल एंड फाइंड आउट यार ये साहिल अदीम पैसे ले रहा है, बताओ मैंने भी बुकिंग करनी। दे विल टेल मी मुफ्त में बुक होता है, फिक्र नहीं कर, पैसे तुझे लगेंगे जो तुझे वेन्यू बुक करने के लगेंगे ना, उसके 2 या 3 पाउंड की टिकट रख ली, वो भी पूरे हो जाएंगे। इतना आसान है साहिल अदीम का सेशन कराना, इतनी सी 5 मिनट के ऊपर ये बात तय हो सकती है। मगर आप जब तोहमत लगाने पे आते हैं तो शैतान आपको अंधा कर देगा, क्योंकि ये गुनाह चाहिए उसको, ये तो आप गुनाह है, शिर्क के बाद सूद के बाद तोहमत का गुनाह है, इस लेवल का गुनाह है।
I think what is very disturbing कि खैर देखिए मैं तो ये बात unapologetically कहता हूँ कि I don't see any difference. To me, engineer साहब is very much he's doing a lot of fronting for seculars. But फिलहाल मैं उस पर बात करना चाहता हूँ। That's fine. मैं इसीलिए मैंने वो चीज़ मैं उस पर ज़्यादा मैं emphasize नहीं करता।
मुझे बिल्कुल भी नहीं, क्या पता आप ठीक कह रहे हो, क्या पता आप ना कह रहे हो, मगर you have your own information.
My views है, क्या पता मैं ठीक कह रहा हूँ या ज़्यादा ठीक कह रहा हूँ। But there is
This is not my place to say.
मैं इसलिए मैं I don't want this to basically coming from you. That's my view. I want to make it very clear. लेकिन फ्रॉम हिज इस्लामिक व्यू पॉइंट जो चीज़ ज़्यादा डिस्टर्बिंग है कि अगर आप लोगों को दीन सिखा रहे हैं, आप
नहीं सिखा नहीं ना यहाँ पे तो मैं आपको बता देता हूँ, चलिए मतलब मिर्जा साहब हों या फिर कोई भी मौलवी साहब हों, ये क्लासिक ऑर्थोडॉक्सी दीन नहीं मजहब सिखा रहे हैं,
अपने तहीं तो सिखा रहे हैं ना,
नहीं देखा आपने बोले ना, फिर मजहब का चले मजहब अच्छा है, इट्स अ गुड वर्ड,
मजहब सिखा रहे हैं। आई थिंक एनीवन हु इज डूइंग दैट एट लीस्ट उनको दे ought to know, एट लीस्ट उनको इतना पता होना चाहिए कि कुरान फॉरबिड करता है कि जब आपके पास कोई खबर आती है
या
और आप उसको वेरीफाई नहीं कर रहे हैं और आप उसको आगे फैला रहे हैं, दैट्स समथिंग व्हिच इज
that's as deep as it gets.
जैसा कि आपने देख लिया सारी गुफ्तगू में कि साहिल अदीम साहब के हवाले से जो गुफ्तगू की गई, देखें किसी आदमी से इख्तलाफ होना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं, हमारा इस्लामी बड़ा ट्रेडिशन है, बड़े बड़े उलमा बड़े बड़े स्कॉलर्स एक दूसरे से इख्तलाफ करते थे, हम तो कुछ स्टूडेंट लोग हैं, मेरे भी साहिल अदीम साहब से इख्तलाफात हैं। अभी जो पॉडकास्ट आपने देखी जो पाकिस्तान इस्लामिक से अपलोड हुई, हमने उस पर खुल के इख्तलाफ किया, हंसते मुस्कुराते किया, इसलिए कि बहरहाल इख्तलाफ का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि आप पर्सनल ग्रजेस रखें या कोई इस तरह की बात करें, यही मुसलमानों का एक मेयार होना चाहिए और हमेशा से रहा। लेकिन اس کے ساتھ ساتھ یہ بھی ہے کہ اختلاف کا مطلب یہ نہیں ہے کہ آپ اپنی ہی جو آپ کا جو کلیم ہے کہ بھائی میں لوگوں کو دین سکھا رہا ہوں، میں یہ کر رہا ہوں اور یہ دعوت حق ہے، اور وہاں پہ جو اسلام کے اسٹیبلشڈ اصول ہوں کہ جب آپ تک کوئی فاسق کوئی خبر لے کے آئے تو آپ اس کی تحقیق کریں، اور اگر وہ آپ تحقیق اس کی نہیں کر رہے تو اس کو آگے آپ نہ پھیلائیں، کیونکہ یہ حدیث کے مطابق بھی انف کہ آپ تحقیق کیے بغیر آپ آگے سے آپ جھوٹ بولے ہیں سو فورتھ. I just don't understand. اور ساحل صاحب نے تو اپنے اس پوڈ کاسٹ میں کہا کہ میں تو اس سیکٹرز کے ساتھ انجینئر صاحب کا ابھی بھی میں کوئی لنک نہیں جوڑوں گا، میں نہیں کہوں گا جو آپ کہہ رہے ہیں شاید ہی ٹھیک ہو شاید ٹھیک نہ ہو. سو ہی از ڈیسنٹ انف ٹو سے دیٹ، لیکن میرے دل میں کوئی ڈاؤٹ نہیں ہے کہ یہ سارے کا جتنا بھی سرکمسٹانشل ایویڈنس ہے وہ سارا یہی شو کرتا ہے. اب مجھے بتائیے، مجھے لوگوں سے اور دین میں اگین میرے پرابلم جو سارے ادیم صاحب سے ہیں جو ڈس اگریمنٹ ہے علماء کے حوالے سے رائے رکھتے ہیں جو بات کرتے ہیں وہ ڈاکومنٹڈ ہے، میتھڈولوجی جاتا ہے. لیکن ساحل ادیم صاحب سے میں ہزار اختلاف کروں کبھی سیکولرزم کی سپورٹ میں نہیں آئے. انجینئر صاحب سے اختلاف کرے تو سیکولرزم جتھوں کی صورت میں آیا کرتے ہیں. یہ وہ مینیفیسٹیشن ہے جو میں کہتا ہوں کہ ایران کارپوریشن ٹائپ مسلمز، وہ اس وجہ سے کہتا ہوں کہ ان کا گٹھ جوڑ آپس میں دیکھیں کہ ایک نے جھوٹی خبر چلائی، باقی سب نے اس کو پروموٹ کیا، پورا نیریٹو بنایا، اور یہ جو ہمارے صاحب ہیں علمی کتابی صاحب، یہ اسی تحقیق ہے. اینڈ دس از دا پرابلم یو نیڈ ٹو انڈرسٹینڈ. ایسے لوگ کبھی بھی دین کے خیر خواہ نہیں ہو سکتے، یہ آپ کے خیر خواہ نہیں ہو سکتے. آئی ڈونٹ مین ٹو بی پرسنل ود اے مین، لیکن اگر ایک بیانیے کا ایک جنگ چل رہی ہے جس میں ایک طرف روایت پسند لوگ کھڑے ہیں اور ایک طرف سیکولر کھڑے ہوئے ہیں، تو ہر وہ آدمی جو سیکولرز کے ساتھ کھڑا ہوا ہے اس کو پوائنٹ آؤٹ کرنا ضروری ہے، کیونکہ یہ وہ طبقہ ہے کہ جنہوں نے سینٹرل ایشیا میں یہ ہزاروں لوگوں کے قتل کا باعث بنے تھے. ان لوگوں نے اسلام بین کرایا، ان لوگوں نے کچھ وہی چیز ریپیٹ ہو رہی ہے. اس میں میں سیپریٹ ویڈیوز بنا کے میں ایکسپلین کروں گا. دیٹ از وائی آئی سے کیپ یور سیلف سیف، کیپ یور چلڈرن اوے فرام دس مین. ہی از اے بیڈ نیوز اینڈ اے ویری بیڈ نیوز.
اس کا دیا ہے کیا ہے؟ سوچیں، میں فزکس میں پیرافریز کر رہا ہوں، فزکس میں آپ لوگ فزکس کہ میں تو جبرائیل کو مانتا ہوں. ابو بکر صدیق سے جب پوچھا گیا نا کہ تو مانتا ہے کہ تیرا نبی آسمان میں واپس آ کے ایک سیکنڈ، تو ابو بکر صدیق نے کہا میں تو ان لاز کے اوپر جبرائیل کو مان لیتا ہوں، وہ تو لائٹ ہے. ابو بکر صدیق فزکس میں کیا پیرافریز کر رہا ہوں. آپ کو ابھی بتایا ہے کہ آپ مسلمان جب فزکس میں انٹر ہوتا ہے تو سب سے پہلے کانسیپٹ لے کے آتا ہے کہ لائف از ناٹ دا بیسٹسٹ تھنگ. ہم کیوں آئنسٹائن کے تھرو اسلام پروو کر رہے ہیں؟ میری دعا فاسٹر دین آئنسٹائنز تھیوری ہے. ابو بکر صدیق نے جو بہترین آنسر اس کا دیا ہے کیا ہے؟ سوچیں، میں فزکس میں پیرافریز کروں، فزکس میں آپ لوگ فزکس کہ میں تو جبرائیل کو مانتا ہوں. ابو بکر صدیق سے جب پوچھا گیا نا کہ تو مانتا ہے کہ تیرا نبی آسمان میں واپس آ گیا ایک سیکنڈ میں، تو ابو بکر صدیق نے کہا میں تو ان لاز کے اوپر جبرائیل کو مان لیتا ہوں، وہ تو لائٹ ہے. ابو بکر صدیق فزکس میں کیا پیرافریز کر رہا ہوں کہ جبرائیل فزکس کے لا توڑتا ہے میرے سامنے، تو میرے نبی کے جسم کی لطافت جو جبرائیل سے کئی زیادہ ہے. فزکس کی بات کی ہے انہوں نے، جسم کی لطافت سمجھ آئی؟ دا کنورژن ابیلٹی کیپیبلٹی ٹو گو تھرو آل دیز ریلمز. اور معراج کی حدیث خود بتا رہی ہے پہ ریزسٹنس آئی ہے، پہلے روکا گیا، پھر کانورسیشن ہوئی ہے، پھر روکا گیا فار تھنگز وچ آر اکارڈنگ ٹو دا اسپیڈ آف لائٹ. اوکے، نہیں تو انہوں نے اس لیے کہا پشت تو مطلب ابھی تو میٹر ہی کامیابی تک کہ وہ مسلمانوں کی دعا کو ساتویں آسمان میں پہنچانے کی کیپبلٹی رکھتے ہیں. ہمیں پتہ ہے نا ابھی تک کی فزکس تو نہیں کہ یار یہ کوئی نہیں ہوتا یہ تمہاری سپرسٹیشن ہے کچھ ٹھیک رہے گا نا فزکس, مگر ہمیں تو پتہ ہے کہ دعا اللہ تعالیٰ کا ڈائریکٹ پہنچائی جاتی ہے. فرشتہ تو نہیں لے کے جاتا, اگر لے کے بھی جاتا تو ساتویں آسمان تک جو لے کے جاتا تو 50,000 سال میں پہنچتا معارج کے تھرو, مگر فرشتہ نہیں لے کے جا رہا, ڈائریکٹ اللہ تک پہنچتا. ٹھیک ہے, اور درود شریف نبی اسلام تک پہنچ رہا ہے. یہ دونوں چیزیں میں اکٹھی اس لیے کر رہا ہوں تاکہ آپ کو پتا ہو کہ ٹریجیکٹری بتائی جا رہی ہے. اوکے, اچھا یہ سوال اکٹھے کر کے ایک ہی تھیم کے سوال ایک ہی جواب سے سارے سوال آتے. جی جی بالکل, ٹائم پاس ہوا. اللہ نے سورہ بنی اسرائیل میں اللہ تعالیٰ نے اسٹارٹ ایسے کی کہ رات کے ایک پہر, دو پہر گزرا ہے. ایسے نہیں کہ پاکستان میں جو معراج ہم نے کرائی کہ کنڈی ہل رہی تھی ابھی تک, ایسا نہیں. پتا پڑھا نا آپ نے, ایسا نہیں. اللہ تعالیٰ نے بتایا ایک پہر میں ہوا ہے, ایک تھوڑا سا انسٹنس گزرا ہے, مگر اتنا نہیں گزرا کہ سالوں سال گزرے. سفر کتنے سال کا تھا اور ایک پہر کے اندر ہی ہو گیا. کیا ہے نا جبرائیل امین سے جب بات ہوئی ہے, جب نبی السلام کے وصال کا ٹائم آیا تو وہ حدیث پڑھے کہ نبی السلام نے کہا کہ کافی عرصہ آپ کا معراج جو گزرا ہے وہ کاؤنٹ کیا ہم نے. غور سے سن لیں یہ سوال, بس آخری سوال چل رہا ہے. میں آپ کی صبر کی داد میں بھی دیتا ہوں, مجھے برداشت کرنا آسان نہیں ہے, مجھے پتہ ہے. اچھا اور سوال کیا؟ انگلش اردو والی بات ہے نا, جب اردو والے پرفارمنس زیرو کریں گے تو ہم ان لوگوں نے پرفارمنس پروگرس میں دکھائی ہے نا, مانے نا. وی آر نیچرلی گوئنگ ٹو بی سبسروینٹ ٹو دیئر سائیکالوجی. وی شوڈنٹ بی بٹ وی آر. مجبوری ہے ہماری کہ ہم فزکس والے کو کمپٹنٹ بنیں. میں نے اگر آپ کو بتا دیا میری پی ایچ ڈی ان تھیوریٹیکل فزکس ہے, آل آف اے سڈن آپ لوگوں نے میری باتیں زیادہ مان لینی ہے. مگر میں نے اگر آپ سے کہا نا میں حافظ قرآن ہوں, آپ کہیں گے نہیں سر وہ آپ کو ہم 11ویں میں بلا لیں گے یا جمعرات کو آنا شام کو. سوچیں تو صحیح نا, پرفارمنس کی بات ہوتی ہے. جب بگر نمبر کے اندر پرفارمنس ایک خاص گروپ سے آ رہی ہو تو اس گروپ کا ہر ریپرزینٹیٹیو اس کا پھل کھاتا ہے. ہمارے مسلمانوں کی پرفارمنس بگر گروپ کے چھوٹے گروپ سے بھی نہیں آ رہی. ایک دو نام ہوتے ہیں, باقی کے مسلمان اس کے اوپر چڑھے ہوتے ہیں. کیوں؟ ان کو سکھایا گیا کہ دین میں یہ کام نہیں. جی کسی کو بھی ان کا سوال سمجھ آیا ہے؟ جس کو نہیں سمجھ آیا سوال ہاتھ کھڑا کریں. کیا نام ہے آپ کا؟ محمد. ٹھیک ہے محمد, یاد رکھیے کلوز گروپ میں آپ کو اس کا جواب دوں گا. بگ گروپ میں آپ کا سوال نہیں سمجھ آیا تو میرا جواب کبھی بھی نہیں سمجھ آیا, کیونکہ یہ سوال ایگزیکٹ ایک عربی نے عبداللہ بن عباس سے پوچھا, اور عبداللہ بن عباس نے کہا تھا کہ میں اس کا جواب بتا دوں گا تو کافر ہو جاؤ گا. ایگزیکٹ یہ سوال. اوکے, کلوز گروپ میں جن کی ایکسپوجر زیادہ ہوں ان کو یہ جواب دو. پبلک میں یہ سوال نہیں سکتے. پوچھو بولو کیا بات ہے. اب اٹس اوکے, وہ اولا کی یونیورسٹی ڈالے گا کیونکہ کوئی اور مسئلہ ہوگا. جی پہلے آواز پہلے چائنا کی آئی ہے, پہلے ان کی آواز میرے تک آئی. فزکس سوال کیا ہے؟ قربانی دے کے پتر, قربانی پاکستانی لڑکا جو ہے نا اگر وہ سیکھ لے نا یہ لڑکیاں کتنی قربانی روز دیتی ہیں. 1% بھی آپ نے 1% قربانی, آپ کو پتہ نہیں ہے بچیاں روز کتنی قربانیاں دیتی ہیں. یہاں سے باہر نکلے گی نا مجبوراً جائے گی کہ یہ سب جانوروں نے بھی پہلے دیکھنا ہے, ناپنا ہے اس کو. ہمیں پتہ نہیں, آپ اپنی کلاس سروس کی بات بتا رہا ہوں, اپنے آپ کو قربان کر ہی نہیں رہے. ہم ان کو ٹرین کیا ہوا ہے کہ ہر ساری پر قربانی دیتی تھی. اگر آپ کے اندر قربانی کا وہ جذبہ 1% بھی آ گیا جو ہماری بہنوں ماؤں بیٹی یہی ہے نا, یہ بیٹھی ہیں 1%, تو یہ شراب کا چیز ہے. ہم نے تو ایسے ٹیک آف کرنا ہے راکٹ کی طرح. ہم قربانی دیتے ہی نہیں اپنے مفاد. मजे नहीं कुर्बान हो रहे हमसे, तो मफाद कैसी? छोटा छोटा मजा नहीं कुर्बान करता पाकिस्तानी मर्द। हाँ, समझ आ गया? तक अब होता ही है कि उसके रिएक्शन में ये फिर चालबाज हो जाती है, मजबूरी जाहिर है, और क्या करें? आपका समझ लीजिए, शौकिया नहीं है शातिर और चालबाज पाकिस्तान के लिए, मजबूरन है, क्योंकि हम अपने मफाद छोड़ते नहीं। आपकी उम्र में ये बात पता नहीं।
انا مش عارف مين مع مين ولا الدنيا دي رايحه لفين، ما اللي انا شفته عذاب بيموت للدرجه دي بين شياطين.
And we have the book. They don't have the book. We have the prophet. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't have the prophet. We have the code. They don't have the code. And we're just not doing this or this or this. That's why the whole world is moving to them. And our hard-earned money, anybody who is not a Muslim as well, when people congregate in a certain area, that area becomes rich. When people come in together and work, from driving a cab to running the parliament, that area becomes prosperous. That's how systems are run. That's why you need to understand the meaning of deen, not mazhab. When Allah says deen, ma deenuka, in the grave, the question you're going to be asked, man rabbuka, and then ma deenuka. What kind of a brick were you, of which wall? Which system were you actually enforcing? Where was your bigger tilt? किधर फोर्स लगाते रहे हो? क्या काम करते रहे हो? किस सिस्टम का हिस्सा थे? दो ही सिस्टम बनाए थे हमने, तुम किस सिस्टम का हिस्सा थे? जी, मादीनु का. That's what I'm here to tell you. That's why I'm saying a lot of things are going to make perfect sense in the Seerah now and the Quran. All of a sudden, the tafsir of the Quran is going to change in front of you. And all of a sudden, Quran is going to speak politics and sense, dominance, and all those little and big things that the Prophet ﷺ and Sahaba were doing are going to make sense to you. That's how we're going to make little Ali's into big Ali bin Abi Talib's, little Umar's, little Talha's into Talha bin Zubair's. There's only one formula. Varna wahi hoga. But 52 khutbe जुम्मे के मैनचेस्टर में करेंगे, उसके बाद भी सेकंड क्लास ही सीजन रहेंगे मकसूद साहब. No one's going to make it in time for the Jummah because that's not going to make sense. It's not making sense right now. All it does is हम लोग पिस रहे हैं, या अल्लाह इस्राइल गारत हो जाए. That's not how things are done. We need to fix, and I'll tell you how to fix. And Islam ke through I'm going to tell you how to fix, not sociology, psychology or biology. No, Islam has a solution. Biology is a subset of Islam. Sociology and psychology is a subset. They complement the Quran. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to open the Quran in front of you. That's how you're going to raise children now. And they're not going to ask you questions, they're going to give you answers, inshallah. Because they're going to come out to schools and colleges and universities, and they're going to install Islam. Otherwise, kalma, namaz, roza, zakat, hajj. That is all that they're going to do under the system of somebody else. They are going to do kalma, namaz, roza, zakat, hajj here. Because someone is going to allow us for kalma, namaz, roza, zakat, hajj. Once they're going to stop allowing kalma, namaz, roza, zakat, hajj, Muslim parents are going to come together and be like, at least kalma to padhne de rahe hain, namaz roki hui hai. That's the next step. At least dil mein to kalma padhne de rahe hain, muh pe nahi aane dete ab. Ye hoga अगला step. Because someone is controlling the system of, if I can say kalma, namaz, roza, zakat. And this is how anybody controls anything. It's not rocket science, everybody knows this. So when I'm going to present the solution, make sure you understand. When I'm going to say deen, it is already installed. Now you'll understand when the Quran says, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. All the systems, Islam is going to become the most dominant system. ليظهره على الدين كله. All the system. ليظهره means you're going to see it happening as the most dominant, the most prevalent system. That's ليظهره على الدين, upon all the systems. Kulli means all.
أنا مش عارف من معامي ولا الدنيا دي رايحة لفين. ما اللي أنا شفته عذاب بيموت للدرجة دي بين شياطين. أنا
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to today's podcast. This is a space where we explore the profound questions that begin to form in our minds as we grow. Questions about who we are, our purpose, and what truly defines us. I'm your host, Rahul, and as a Muslim, I believe these questions are deeply connected to both our spiritual journey and our intellectual growth. Today, I am blessed to have two amazing guests with me who will help us explore these topics from different perspectives. First, we are honoured to have Mr. Jonathan Brown, a lecturer from Dundee University, whose expertise in education and philosophy, and he will add an enriching perspective to our conversation. Mr. Jonathan, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And next, we have Mr. Sahil, Adeem, an educational psychologist and a speaker whose work often revolves around the nature of identity and purpose. Mr. Sahil, Jazakallah khair for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So today, we'll discuss three core questions that often arise during the teenage years, a time of immense change and reflection. These questions are like, who am I? What is my real identity, and what is my real purpose? So, we'll approach these questions from religious, philosophical, and psychological perspectives. I'll serve as your guide, but most of this will be driven by our distinguished guests. So, let's dive right in. So, to begin with our first segment, our first question is, who am I? This question lies at the heart of our understanding of ourselves. So, Mr. Sahil, how would you approach this question of who am I?
Psychology. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, who am I is a question of philosophy, not psychology. It's going to pay a lot of inroads into your psychology. It's going to make you behave that you're going to understand the meaning of who you are. So, a shorter answer right now so that we can begin this whole conversation.
Yeah.
That you are a unit of a very big system. If you don't understand the big system, you won't understand who you are. Me, you, me, everybody else, 7 billion, 8 billion now planet, and the billions of people who've been around. It's part of a system. Think of it like a wave going to a certain point. Okay, and we are a unit of that whole system. And hence we need to be a part of this, understand it, and try and contribute as much as I can not just contribute, drive the system.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's your innate God-given disposition. That's why a lot of inner callings, actually, whoever goes through that and understands the inner voices, hears the same voices, no matter where he's from, what kind of religion. And he's gotta take over and try and drive towards a certain goal. The mutual definition of good, the mutual definition of evil, trying to be a part of the battle and
win it every single time. For that, you need to get those capabilities and, learn knowledge structures and understand skill structures. Try and see whether you can drive your self-esteem of how much knowledge you have or how much skill you have. And am I actually even being a part of that bear fight, the big.
I think, so Rahel, the question again was, who am I?
Yeah.
Is that right? Goodness. There's so many ways we can answer that. I think, for me personally, and it's lovely to be able to speak as myself as well as a lecturer, I think, we are children of God. And I think that pattern that you were talking about, part of that pattern, that tapestry, is like taking on that likeness and participating in that. So that would be a perspective that I would have. We're also like an individual identity. And I think who we are is like that expression of, what is within us and then what's without us. And for me, I'm doing a PhD at the moment, which is like a really long essay, right? It's a lot of studying. And it's around well-being, what I'm investigating. And one of the key things I'm finding in my research is that our well-being is really based on a relationship. And it's a relationship between us as subjects, as individuals, and then reality, you could call it, the world as it is. And we have to find these harmonious ways of being, right? So for example, if I just kept eating as much junk food as I would want, that's not going to be a harmonious way of being, because the way the world is made, if I live that way, it's going to make me ill. Right, it's going to put on extra weight, I'm going to have health conditions. So I have to find in myself a way to have the best relationship with reality. Reality would be a big word, a word I'd be more comfortable saying might be with God, right? And so I think who we are then is as individuals who are part of this pattern, this tapestry. And I think we're on a journey of trying to establish that relationship. And then I suppose a big part of then in with that identity is what is that thing we're having a relationship with. And I think maybe a lot of what we'll speak about is, as we move through our lives, there's lots of things that are put up in front of us as this is the thing you should have a relationship with that will make meaning in your life, that will make your life good. That's another big philosophical question. What is the good life? So is the good life a life if you have a relationship with lots of money? Is the good life a life when you have a relationship with lots of success? Is it when you get lots of good grades at school? Is it when you're really popular? Does that make sense? And so we have these things we have a relationship with. So I think we are people who were made for relationship. I think that who we are as a person comes about as a product of those relationships. And a really important question for me is, okay then, so what's the best thing that we can have a relationship with?
That's very nice. So,
Really?
Does that pass?
Sink it into this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
That's good.
yeah, so as Muslims, we also think of this this question in the context of our fitrah. So, our natural disposition, and how does that align with what you say?
Ooh, okay. Well, you need to explain fitrah. I'm not a Muslim, so I'm afraid I don't know that concept.
The natural disposition.
Yeah.
Universal disposition of every human child that was going to be born or was born is a common disposition.
Okay.
That a human child is going to behave according to that element of the basic disposition of good, trying to achieve good, understanding why it is, what bad is, what evil is, why not to do or commit evil. Your natural basic disposition of the human mind.
Okay.
That's fitrah.
And that's fitrah. And then, what was the question then with this?
So, how would you align with what you're saying with fitrah?
Oh, okay. So, well, we've got an education psychologist here.
That gyroscope of morality is actually sitting on that disposition, right?
Yeah.
And it's so common in every human being.
Yes.
Teach morality to any religion or creed or a culture. They all have it.
Ethic emerges, yes.
Yeah, it emerges from that gyroscope. It's just revolving, to and fro, good and evil, yin yang, going on.
Yes.
But to naturally be repulsed by evil and to naturally get attracted towards good is the fitrah.
Oh, so it's that guide, it's like a navigation thing.
Yeah, that gyroscope,
thing.
yeah.
Interesting. So, I guess what I'm thinking of then, this is a new concept for me, but what I'm thinking of as we have an education...
No, but in the Torah, the Old Testament,
yes,
the literal verse is that God actually, every child is born in the image of God.
Yes.
That image of God is the fifth one.
Ah, okay, that light.
Genesis, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting.
That's actually Matthew's as well, and also the Quran, the same verse.
Oh, is that right, really?
Yeah.
And so, but the word here is fitra, and that means like the inclination,
God.
the image of
The
God.
image of God.
Yeah. Well, so then I think, so here's an interesting one for you. Well, I was actually just speaking to Mum about this. We talk about having a purpose or aim in our life, right? And when we look at the word for sin in the Bible, we can have, in our culture nowadays, we can think of sin as a wagging finger. Like all those naughty things you shouldn't do. Okay, and we just think it's a set of rules. But when it was originally written, the word that was used came from archery. And it actually was about aim. So it meant to miss the mark, to aim poorly. And so I think when we think about sin like that, then there's things that when we aim for them, when we aim poorly, they don't do well by us. So for example, I would often joke, do you know what cryptocurrency is? Like Bitcoin and everything.
Yeah.
So I joke with my wife that I could make an aim for my life being a crypto billionaire, and I could take all of our money and I could gamble it on crypto. Likeness, that likeness to God, that image bearing that we have is continually and progressively coming forward. You mentioned the yin yang. It's actually a symbol I really like. So we've got those two phases. I don't know, order and chaos, or spirit and law. But the line that goes down the middle, the Taoists call that the divine path or the heroic path, right? And I think that's because as people, when we move through our life, we need to be constantly be sensing between what's needed here. Do I need to give like grace and flexibility? Do I need to have more structure or rules in my life? And I think as we follow that, that takes us on this journey of self.
And everything. I mean, sometimes they're really good, but they're not tied or anchored to a purpose. So you cannot rely on they're good.
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's how important the word purpose is. So that's why I started with the word prophet. Okay. Now, there are two kinds of prophets. And both of them do the same thing. They're prophesizing the future. Some of those prophets are sent by God Almighty Himself, guides them, literally tells them what's going to happen in the future. So you open the Torah, you find all the prophecies of what's going to happen. Okay, you find the New Testament, you read the book of Revelation, all about what's going to happen in the end. In the end, see, right? This word in your mind, the end. So these prophets are talking about the problems at the end, and they're just trying to solve them right now. So the story has an end.
Yeah.
And they know the end. They're telling everybody the end, way ahead in time. Okay, it's going to happen thousands of years from now, if not hundreds. And every prophet is trying to tell them this is the bigger problem. And your purpose is to make sure that problem doesn't happen. Okay? Purpose. And they're trying to build, parenting models, making knowledge go through every woman and man so that their children will bear that knowledge, trying to equip themselves, not let that thing happen. And there are good prophecies as well, okay? So they're trying to make sure that they do happen, and there's evil that's about to happen. They make sure that, kids are prepared, women are prepared, girls are prepared, boys are prepared. Now that's one kind of prophets. From Adam alayhi salam, from Adam to Muhammad bin Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Yeah.
All of these prophets did the exact same thing. Foretelling the future, foretelling everything, and reverse engineering a certain message so that thing wouldn't happen, or it can get delayed as much as everybody can muster up to delay that event. And there are other prophets as well. Those are not guided by God, but they're guided by their fitrah. Okay, they're not sent by God. We're all sent by God, right? We came because of God, right? But they did not go through the Bible or the Torah or the Quran. They go through their own disposition, and they try to solve those problems as well. Be it Aristotle, be it Socrates, be it Hume, all those philosophers. They start pondering over what is going on, and they try and come up with the solution to a problem that they're actually yelling about in their books. Okay, from a person's problem to a group's problem, from a local problem to a global problem. Read the books, you'll find out they're doing the exact same thing. They're writing the problem statement, they're trying to solve it. Now, they have a lot of fancy words, a lot of people don't read their books, but literally, they're doing the job of a prophet, which is not sent by God for this very purpose. In other words, when you look at these people, you'll find out that every human being was sent for the same purpose. Some of them are guided directly by God and given books. Some of them do not get books. They're guided directly through their fitra. Okay? And these gods and prophets are the fastest, quickest, and most optimal help that we can get. Okay? So this story has a start, a middle, and an end. Okay? Every book written by God, or every book not written by God, by those prophets we just named, also had an end. Okay? Now it takes time. It's NASA. What are they talking about? An end. A meteor is going to come in, and it's most probably going to come in someday, right? And it's going to end. So let's just go to Mars, terraform a planet, try and, everyone's talking about the end. As soon as you use the word end, all of a sudden, the word purpose comes to play. Because if there is no end, there is no purpose. Okay? If there is no end, there is no purpose. Make sure you write that down somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, every prophet is talking about the end, regardless of whether he's directly guided by God or guided by his fitra. Hence God, right? Sorry. So, you need to see whether you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Because all the books you're going to read is going to have two kinds of people, part of the problem, part of the solution. If you know the end, you will understand what the solution is and how to become a part of that solution.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You really do? Or can I write on your age to actually understand the depth of what I'm saying? So you see the tears of every prophet sent by God, of how deeper they felt the pain of every human being, because they could see all those human beings. God not just gave them visions, He took them on literal journeys to see hell and heaven, to see human beings going through whatever, they are going to go through the end. That's the day of judgment, right? So that day of judgment is the end, the ultimate end. So the Torah starts to that, the Bible starts to that, and the Quran starts to that. If you're not going to stop in the end, you're not going to understand your purpose. Because if some movie, some story is never going to end, then there is no point of having any kind of purpose. I could be good in my own definition. I could be bad in your definition and still feel good in my own definition. It's called moral relativism. Okay? Whoever does not have that visioning of the end in mind, as soon as you leave the day of judgment out, when you take out day of judgment from the equation, all of a sudden the definition of morality is relative. So you could feel good and be good in your own books, a hero of your own movie, and a classical villain in everybody else's movie. And you get away with that because you know what? Both of these parties don't believe in the end. So if you have an end, very high resolution end, understanding what's going to happen there, you're going to reverse engineer a purpose of your own time. Why were you born in this time? What kind of problems are going to add to the actual problem in the end? Did you contribute towards the good? Did you equip yourself to perform against evil? All of this becomes part and parcel of your actual purpose. Because from Adam till you, from Adam till the last boy is going to be born, right before the day of judgment, has the exact same purpose. There are no two different purposes. The ultimate purpose is the same. For you, me, my kids, Adam al-Islam's firstborn till Adam al-Islam's lastborn will have the same purpose, because there's a purpose of why he came here. And he was sent here to save the whole humanity from the ultimate end. Okay? We call that ultimate end the calamity. It's hell.
Yeah.
Okay? And people are not going to make it 999 to the ratio of 1 in every 1,000. Okay? Same thing within the Torah. Same thing in Talmud. Same thing in the Gospels. Same thing in the Quran. Most of them are not going to make it. So we got to say that many as we can to add to that ratio of 1 to 1,000. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big job. Yeah, that's the purpose.
That's it. Thank you very much. And so, Mr. Jonathan,
Yes.
how do philosophers and educators approach the concept of purpose? And do you see parallels between the views and the religious perspective?
Yes, I think so. And I think that was a really good answer about the ultimate question. I think the purpose, to your point about moral relativism, people are trying to decide what is the highest good. Where do we get our meaning from? Where do we get our purpose from? Maybe another way to think about it is, and again, your mum and I were just speaking about this, we're all looking for something to worship. And people are choosing different things that they're going to have as their highest good in their life that they think is going to give their life purpose. So for some people, it might be being popular. For some people, it might be, I don't know, being really successful in one particular field. But they think this is the thing that when I devote myself to it, it's going to give me purpose in life. Do you remember earlier we were talking about sin could be aiming at the wrong thing? But there's some of the things that we can aim at that would make our lives go poorly, and they can be things that we can aim at that pull us together. It could be something that's the best thing to aim at, that would be the right thing to be in the highest place. So when we aim at that, it's going to guide us through our life. So I think purpose, whether you're a philosopher or an educator, it's people trying to decide what deserves to be at the very, very top of the pile. What's the thing that if we organise everything, you can think about it like this, having a flow chart. Have you ever seen these charts you get in magazines sometime, and it says like what kind of superhero are you?
Yeah.
You know, you like this or you like this, and you've got like these branching diagrams. Well, we've got things, and we have to decide, well, which is the most important thing? And we can move that all the way up till we get to the top. Then from the top, that cascades down, and that helps us find our purpose. So I think in education and philosophy, I'm reading a lot of philosophy right now. I'm thinking about well-being, and people are trying to decide what belongs up there. And I think at the moment, what we're having in our world at the moment is people are seeming to think that they can just decide, and then the world will fit around their ideas. So let me give you an example. There's a bookshop in Dundee, the university, the town where my university is, and I would love to go to that bookshop, okay? And I would walk around the bookshop and I would take pictures of all the books I was going to buy for cheaper on Amazon, okay? Now, I can't live in a world where there's bookshops if I don't buy my books there. Yeah, so I have to like make a sacrifice. I have to pay for slightly more expensive books in order for there to be a book there and to be a bookshop there. So I think when we go through our lives, we need to be thinking about what is the contribution that we need to make or that we can make in order to keep the world blossoming or moving forward. So for example, people might say, I think that I can live this way and the world will keep working. But if I say I think I can just go to bookshops but buy books cheaply on Amazon, the world won't work that way. The bookshops will just stop existing. So what we've kind of lost, I think, within ourselves is that there is a relationship between us and the world, and we can't say to the world, you're going to be this way. I can eat whatever food I want and my body will still be healthy. I can do whatever I want with my money and things will still be what will work and be fair. That I can do whatever I want with my body and my body will still be healthy. I don't think that's how the world works. And I think we've kind of fallen out of relationship with God, with that which is higher. Here's another way to think about it. You know, the environmental crisis that we have at the moment, right? So there's like lots of pollution and things like that in the world. Well, it's wonderful. You can think, so I teach science at university, so you can think everything that's in the world, you can kind of put into two groups. You can have natural things that you'd find if you went for a walk, natural things in the world, and then you can have synthetic things, and those are things that we can make as people with our brains. And it's wonderful that we can make those things. It's wonderful that we can make these materials. But what we've learned from this crisis, like plastic, for example, it's great that we can make plastic. We can wrap things in it, we can hold things in it, we can like make tents out of it. It's wonderful. But we can't make it to any extent that we want. If we just make all the things that we want and don't pay attention to the world, we end up with pollution. That's what that's literally called, pollution. It damages the environment that we're trying to live in. And I think in that sense, you can see this pollution that we're having is because we've fallen out of relationship with the world. Yeah? And so I think in our lives at the moment what's happening is I think we're falling out of relationship with that which is higher, God. And I think our purpose in some big way is to try and have that relationship, right, with God. There was a storybook I read a few years ago, and it was based in Scotland. It was called the Dragante series, I think. And you know, stories have kind of magical elements in them. And the magical element in this was that your actions either sucked the magic that was in the world out of the world and sort of sped along the end of things, or your actions put magic back into the world and help sustain it and make it a good place to be. And I think that's a big answer for what our purpose is. We need to live in such a way that we're in relationship with that which is higher, because I think when we do that, we're contributing to the world. We're helping. Goodness, how would I explain it? We're helping do God's work, which is creating and cultivating. That's one of the things we learn about God in the book of Genesis. He's a creator and a cultivator, and we're made in his image. So I think that's part of what we can do. So I think, to answer your question, I think philosophy, I think they're trying to decide what goes in the highest place. I think at the moment, culture has decided whatever I feel inside is in the highest place. But I think things like the environmental crisis show us that there needs to be that there is a relationship, and actually we need to be in the lower, more humble position, and we say, okay, world, what are you like, and I'll conform to you. And I think it's our purpose is to sort of develop that relationship.
That's brilliant.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, moving on to our third and final segment. It's a question that might seem simple, but there's a lot into it. So, the question is, what is courage? So, Mr. Sahil, how would you define courage? What do you think courage is?
Assuming that I know what courage is, okay? So let's go deep inside the system, okay? There is a certain sector of energy inside your brain, okay? It makes the whole body go into this mode, okay? So there's like this courage mode, and then there's this fright mode, okay? Now the courage mode has a lot more fright than the fright mode. Okay, that's the trick. And a lot of people miss out on the fact that, they think that courage means no fear. Courage actually has a lot more fear. Okay? So much fear that, your regular fright mode won't even have that, a trace of it. So, first, understand what courage is. Courage is to understand your fear, know where it's coming from, and know what you want them. Or go walk up to your school principal and tell them that, I don't believe in the policy. It's not for the according to the vision of the whole system of education, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one day you have to make the movements, okay, and make the change. So both of them come from the same part of the body. Actually, there's an organ for it. Okay. So you see those tentacles on the cockroach, those antennas?
Yeah.
You know what they're for?
What?
It's sensing danger. Okay. Obviously, the cockroach does a lot more than just says danger, but that's primarily the function of the tentacle. We have those tentacles too. Like literally.
That you've practiced so much that you're ready to do it automatically. And I used to say to some of my primary 5 girls, I have to say, they would all start falling out with each other around primary 5, primary 6. Get good at piano, and as you see each other in the playground and giving each other horrible looks, the things that you really get good at is these things like a muscle. Like a muscle.
That's great.
Thanks.
So, that was our last segment. So, that was a very profound conversation. So,
You know what you just said? It's a mandatory thing in Islam, right?
yeah,
You're walking down the street.
you have to,
The Prophet said the pathway has rights upon you to clean it.
yeah,
It's like a man, if you're not doing it, you'll be punished for letting go of the responsibility and making somebody else pick your slack. Because there are no coincidences in Islam. If you saw something you were given an opportunity to rise yourself up in character, right? This is an opportunity. It's not any random haphazard event that just happened. So, cleaning Scotland from wherever you go, that's the job of a Muslim. Okay? You need to understand. The one symbol of the Prophet ﷺ that everybody knew him for, that wherever he passed, the place got cleaner.
Wow.
The place got better. That's like, it's not some ihsan you're doing. It's not a favor you're doing to anybody. It's part and parcel of why you're sent on this planet. Okay? You're sent on a dirty planet to clean it. You're sent in a place to make it better.
Yeah.
Because if you pass through that and it becomes worse than what it was, you are the problem then. And if it doesn't get better than what it was, then you're a very bigger problem because you let people justify through a pattern of practice, which you said. Okay? So because his children are subconsciously going to do whatever they see him doing consciously. So your people who are going to follow you are naturally going to justify that, you know what, there is reason not to pick up the slack of somebody else.
Yeah. And you can be that change in your school. That's the incredible. Do you know, if I can say one last thing, there's a video, and it's. Do you know this? The music, not the musical, the movie, The Greatest Showman. Have you seen that? It's got Hugh Jackman in it, right? Well, there's a video of them, and what they're doing is they're rehearsing, okay, and the little blurb at the start tells you that this is the performance that they need to do to get the money to make the movie. So they've been given a little bit of money to sort of come up with songs and to come up with the story, but they're going to have this one performance where the people who are going to write the check are going to decide, do we think this is good or do we think it's not? So there's a lot that's riding on this one performance. It needs to be really good, okay? And there's a lady, and she's the main singer, and she's speaking to the camera, and she's saying, she's just so nervous. She's never done anything like this before, and she keeps getting this invitation, you know, come out from behind your music stand and just really sing, just really go into it, okay? Now, I watched this a couple of times, probably every month, and it would stir me, and I would always think, why does it stir me so much? And eventually I realised, okay, because what happens is, she starts singing, she's very nervous, very nervous. You know what a backing singer is? Just someone in the background. There's one guy in the background, and he has one sentence that he sings by himself. And do you know what he does? While she's singing, he gets his feet up on the chair, and when it's his turn to sing his one sentence, he stands up and he sings it with all he's got. And it's like you feel something ignited. And it's like this one guy had one tiny sentence to do, but I think the whole movie got made because of that guy. Because when he stood up and did his one small thing to the best of his ability, it inspired everybody else. And everybody else did their best. And so I think when you're in your school or in your house or out and about in your life, we shouldn't look down on these small things that we can do. Because like you're saying, you're slowly making the world better. And other people see that and think, goodness, I would like to be a kind of person who make things better. I like who I am when I'm with you. I like how I feel when I'm with you. And I think it's a wonderful thing to offer.
That's great. So,
Think about it. No, think about you in school. Think about people around you in school. Think about adding their colors around you, and they're going through you to people's bodies, and you're sinking them into your colors. Think about it. Unless you manage that picture, you're not going to have a strong enough effect on people. Okay. Right now, there's some colors coming out for you when inside me, the way you look me, the way you're, Imagine if you're doing something. Look at the intensity, experience the intensity of the flavor. So if you're doing something, you pick it out, you're picking up who you are. Okay? All of a sudden, well, a proof of concept. Okay? You're not just seeding that concept in, you're actually making them do it. And they'll be doing it, first they'll be doing it in hiding, in privacy, and then they'll start to muster up the courage to do it in public. Because, you just stay in front of them. Okay? So you need to break the shyness of people of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And somebody who, the first man who does it, breaks the shyness. Yeah. All of a sudden people are going to think, that's the least we have to do now. Just get this go off. Okay? So if you're not the first man, do all as well. Okay? Because then you give him one more excuse not to do good. So it's a double-edged sword. If you're not going to do good, you actually do bad. First drafter. You make sure you're the first to draw the rein. If you're not, do not blame anyone else for being timid, and you needed him to show courage. Do not blame. If you're not the first to draw the rein every single time, you have no right to blame anyone else for not doing the right thing. Okay.
that's
And you know what? I'm going to reach your neck, maybe never. So I'm trying to do whatever I'm sharing now again. And because of you, I'm telling you, every 14-year-old is replicating this thought process. Whoever's going to watch this video, it is that beautiful. They're like a single organism around the planet. Whatever change you make starts, it's like a guitar string. You pluck here, notes starts playing there. Okay?
Yeah. So, I want to thank both of you for joining us today and giving us sensational answers to these questions. So, I hope these answers will be a starting point for people to create their own journeys and, carry on.
They're already in the journey, paving the journey.
Yeah.
Paving, grounding themselves stronger. Okay. Making sure they understand that whatever they do in Scotland, I feel the effect directly every day in Pakistan. No, literally. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay?
I've got 2 more questions to ask the both of you. So, first, what are some practical ways that teens can build resilience and discover their purpose? So, Mr. Sahil, could you answer that, please, from your perspective?
Purpose and really, okay, listen. Purpose, if you do not have the purpose or a strong enough purpose, okay, it is never going to let you build resilience. Resilience is anchored into some sort of an objective that you want in life cycle. You need to have a very strong anchor. And let's just say if you were training for such a thing, and people within your realm will not even understand how you're progressing so fast and so much. Okay, so the purpose is anchoring the level of resilience, the demand for resilience, obviously. Purpose and resilience. Most of the time, I have to use the word purpose when I'm asking the word how to build resilience in a child. Because if there's no purpose, there is no resilience. Human body is designed against it. Okay? We have to fight our own system to become resilient. We literally don't want to work. The natural need of a human being is to not work. Okay, it's good for us, but we're not designed for it. We came from heaven directly. In heaven, it's not heaven if you have to work. Right? The very definition of heaven is that I don't have to do anything. So since we are the sons of Adams, the sons of Adam alayhi salam, we are from a planet or system of planets where we cannot work. That progeny is against resilience. This is a test. We better be humble and start working every single day and every single angle to earn at that level where we do not have to work for a single day. Okay? This is the whole loop. So, anti up, buddy. You gotta work. Okay?
Yeah. So, Ms. Jones, how would you answer that question?
Which was about purpose and resilience.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think that was a very comprehensive answer, so I'm going to try and take it from a different tag. So I think for purpose, sometimes when I'm working with children in schools, when they're thinking of purpose, they're thinking of profession. What should I do with my life? What job should I have? Okay? High schools are asking you to think about your course choices and what job will you have and what will you do after school and all that kind of stuff. And I think for a lot of children, that can be a really hard question because you don't know yet, right? Because you're still a child. I used to think it was like being asked to decide the haircut I was going to have for the rest of my life when I was 14. It's a terrible thought. So probably would have had a haircut would have regretted, right? So I think in terms of purpose, instead of think of profession, I would think of person. So don't think about what the profession you want to have, think about the person you want to be, and then practice setting for yourself micro purposes, mini jobs. So for example, can you make a purpose for yourself that you won't walk past later on the street? And just practice setting a target for yourself, a purpose for yourself, and achieving it. For example, can you set a purpose for yourself that you'll always wipe down the table after dinner? Or that you'll always empty the dishwasher when you know the dishwasher door opens because the dishwasher's finished washing the dishes? right? And my boys sometimes will walk past and just nudge it with their bum so it closes again as if they haven't seen it. So they can set a small purpose for themselves. I'm going to make it my purpose that if I notice the dishwasher is finished cleaning, I'm going to empty it and put it away. Because you know what then happens? You get better at aiming at things. You get better at making a purpose and then achieving it. So I think that's one thing you can do. Don't think profession at this time of your life. That's going to be too difficult. Some people know what job they want to have. But I would think person. What kind of person do you want to be? How do you want to contribute to the world? And then practice setting for yourself little goals and achieving them. That's a great way to grow your character. In terms of resilience, there's a lot you can say about that. So some really practical things first. I think for young people, it's important that they know that they're not their thoughts. So thoughts are just ideas that are happening in their head, right? And so I think a way that we can help our resilience on a very practical level is that we can learn to look at our thoughts instead of from our thoughts. Okay, so here's an example. Let's imagine this is me. In fact, I need somebody. Can I get your phone?
Yeah.
Right. So this is my students at university, and they have to go into schools and they have to give lessons. Okay, and sometimes the lessons don't go very well. So my students have a thought, your phone's the thought. And the thought is, oh my goodness, that went terribly, maybe I'll never make it as a teacher. Now, if they're looking out from the thought, if they're just accepting the thought's truth, they just look at the thought, they're probably going to feel really tired. They're probably going to feel really low. They're probably not going to feel very excited or motivated. Their brains will literally get dumber. They won't be very creative. They won't think of ideas of making the lesson better. So if they look from the thought, chances are they're going to get worse as a teacher. But here's what they can do. Instead of looking from the thought, they can look at the thought. They can just look at the thought, and the thought is, oh my goodness, that didn't go really well. Maybe I won't be a good teacher. And when they look at the thought, they can think things like, do I believe this thought? And they might think, well, no, because I've seen my teacher and she did a few bad lessons, and actually I can tell you what went wrong and I could fix it tomorrow. Do you see? So sometimes a really practical thing that we can do to help our resilience on a practical level, instead of looking from the thought, learn to notice, oh my goodness, I'm just thinking the thought. So you can look at the thought. What do I think about this thought? Is this thought helpful? Is it true? Is it accurate? So that's a really practical way that we can develop our resilience. I think another thing about resilience is that it's interesting. I have a slightly different perspective, and actually.
जाती हैं, दो नीचे आती, इतना वजन है इन तीन अल्फाज का। यतलू अलैहिम आयात, कि अल्लाह ताला ने इसको किसी और बैलेंस में रखा हुआ है, वो वाले बैलेंस में। क्योंकि जब आप कहते हैं ना हवा में अकल तस्लीम नहीं करती, तो जब आपको ज्योमेट्री समझ आती है तो पता चलता है कि कायनात बनने से पहले भी यहाँ पे इस वॉइड के अंदर ये वॉइड नहीं थी, दिस इज ऑल वाटर। अब वो
तो आपने चूंकि आपने इसमें प्रोग्राम में कहीं ना कहीं कुरान पर बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस किया, तो कुरान से एक आयत है, उसके जो है मीनिंग को लेकर के बहुत ज़्यादा सवाल उठ रहे हैं जहन में। जैसे कि वह हुआ खल्क़स समावाति वल वकाना अर्शहु अलल माई, यानी अल्लाह ने 6 या 7 दिनों में कायनात को बनाया और इसके पहले उसका अर्श जो है पानी पर था। तो अगर कायनात बन रहा है जमीन आसमान की, तो पानी कहाँ पर था? ये एक बड़ा सवाल है जो अक्सर उठता है।
देखिए, ना सिर्फ अर्श के ऊपर पानी, बल्कि कायनात से पहले भी पानी ही था। कायनात बनने से पहले भी इस पूरे के पूरे पैराडाइम को पानी के साथ ही भर दे, उसके अंदर कायनात बनी है, ये समझ जाएंगे आप, तब आपको पता चलेगा। समझ गए? दिस इज ऑल वाटर, उसके अंदर कायनात की तख्लीक हुई है। और फिर जब उसकी लेयर्स बनाई गई, तो लेयर्स में उसी पानी को ट्रांसफ्यूज कर दिया गया। इसलिए अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि पहले आसमान के ऊपर पानी, फिर 500 साल तक, फिर दूसरा आसमान 500 साल तक का सफर, फिर उसके ऊपर फिर पानी, फिर इसी तरीके से हर लेयर के ऊपर 500 साल और फिर पानी, और फिर आखिरी में। जब आपको ज्योमेट्री समझ आती है तो पता चलता